Hi everybody, this is Attorney Shah Parali, and I'm making this video specifically for Indica News, who wanted me to cover the issues on the universities that have been shut down in the past years, namely the past now 7 years or 8 years, and what has happened and what lesson to learn. As you know, since 2011, when Tri-Valley University was shut down, I got heavily involved in that because I wanted to protect the students from abuses which was happening, because when the school shut down, the next step the government went after the kids, the students, and many of them were suffering because they had no idea that what they were doing, many of them, that they were actually doing wrong, and they became victims of a system which was not set up properly, and which is not yet set up properly, by the way, and which kind of take advantage of the students, ultimately putting them in situations where good people, good students end up even in jail or in custody or with ankle bracelet. You can follow all the saga on my website. I have written extensively about it since 2011. But then next came, after Tri-Valley University, where the students were affected, came a bunch of other universities, including the University of, there was universities in New Jersey, in California, a lot of them, in New York, you name it, where they were shut down because they were not really compliant with the rules for student visas. But some of them were still compliant. Then the government started having universities which was set up to trap the students. One of them was basically UNNJ, and that's still going on, unfortunately. And there are some class actions, I think, on that. But then the saga continued. Unfortunately, even when the universities became compliant, became even accredited, the government started really kind of digging into their day-to-day activities. And we've seen recently NPU, Hagwan University, then NPU in California, all those are in California. Then it moved to Silicon Valley University, where they are being shut down almost. Some of them are back on track. ITU was also targeted. And the truth is that most of the universities have been helping a lot of students, right? And at the same time, unfortunately, because they were easy to get in, kind of, they were also easy targets. I cannot kind of say that the government is right, because I personally, I don't think the government is right. They should have done their vetting before even giving them their licenses. But now, after the fact, when the students are enrolled, suddenly you see the feds come in, shutting it down and kicking the students out. This is really kind of depressing. And a lot of students feel themselves lost and they don't know what to do. And now more than ever, with the new administration, there will be a lot of more cracking down, and few other universities, what they call visa mills, are going to be targeted. But you have to look into deep inside. Many of those universities, especially in California, of course, Tri-Valley was an exception where you had a lot. Most of them were compliant, right? But the truth is that because there were a lot of students, a big chunk of students from India and China there, and the government saw it, probably there's something fishy there, which is kind of not true actually, because many of the students are attending classes. Now what we are seeing, the students who graduated with those schools, and now that they lost their accreditation, just like the Silicon Valley University, when you saw the accreditation lost, are asking the question, do they qualify for a master's cap next H1B? The answer, it depends. If at the time when you graduated, you had a qualified accreditation from the school and you graduated, you probably will. However, having said that, you need to be careful, because there are a lot of things out there that can really come back and harm you. And we're also seeing a lot of students from NPU, for example, who are traveling abroad and not able to come back. So as for the Silicon Valley universities, I would recommend not to travel right now, because even you move to another visa, that university, you will be questioned heavily about this university. And one of the universities that has heavily been questioned is UNNJ, and things are still going on. And Some people were able to come back, but very few. But unfortunately, the university itself didn't really exist. Well, it did exist, but it was a setup, a sting operation. So whenever you're a student, my advice is to make sure that you are picking the right school. There are many good schools out there. You should pick them. But doesn't mean all the schools that the government is targeting are bad schools, except that you will see, especially a school that gives a first day CPT, already it should be a red alert. Not to say that CPT on the first day is not allowed, but it's highly not recommended. I actually made a video before on that, talking about CPT being abused and OPT itself being abused. Now the next thing that we are seeing, government has just changed the Federal Register for OPT extension. As you know, under Obama there was a lot of fight on that OPT extension. Obama extended it for 17 months, and then it did that on his own without going through the OMB. And later on, they went through the OMB and gave it 24 months with a lot of conditions. One of them is the form I-693, which basically now is a 983, I'm sorry. So that form, what it says is basically kind of put both the student, the employer, in a situation of perjury if in case they violate any of those conditions. Now the Federal Register has changed to actually make it more difficult and almost impossible, I should say, that for third-party placement. As you know, many of the people coming to the US working on H-1Bs or OPTs, they go through the system of H-1B. And many times big companies, they will not want to hire an H-1B directly. They go through a third party, which we also know as IT consulting companies or consulting companies. What happens next is when they do that, they pretty much kind of, the employer becomes the consulting company, and the end client, which we call the client themselves, where the person is working, is the receiving end and in terms of work. It is a normal model. It's been going on for years now like that, but now there has been a lot of crackdown. For one, in 2010, we had this memo from the Obama administration called Employer-Employee Relationship Memo, where basically they start questioning the relationship between the original employer and the end client and how there's a control and dominion. Then when the OPT came, just to go back to our student visa issues, the OPT came, it still allowed people to get placed. But now with this new amendment in the Federal Register, we are going to see probably that it will not be possible to place people in a third party. The truth is that it doesn't make sense, the argument of the USCIS, because they are mentioning that they don't have access to the website to verify or to double check on the student working there. But nobody has prevented them from going there, but they are saying it, so we'll have to take it for granted until there are some fights on this. Going back to the saga of universities, my advice is, if it is too nice, too good, there's something probably wrong with it. So you got to be very careful which school you're picking, because if you're starting the school and taking a CPT, you better attend classes, because it cannot be only on CPT. That's rule number one.